long as I can supply you with information, you can make some good choices, don't you think? Yeah. And so some of those good choices we already know, right? So the plate that Janelle was talking about is this plate. Do you all remember my pyramid? Remember my pyramid? Okay. So my pyramid changes every 5 years by the United States Department of Agriculture. And so now it's my plate. So this is what your plate is supposed to look like. Okay, so think about what you ate for breakfast. Did your plate look like this? Not at all? What was missing? Vegetables. Everything was missing from it. Nobody had fruits this morning? No. Fruits. Okay, did anybody have vegetables this morning or any time today? Okay, did you have protein? Did you have any grains? Did you have milk? Okay, all right. Okay, so if your plate didn't look like this at any point in time during the day, okay, so let's say you didn't eat breakfast, okay? Let's say you didn't eat lunch. So your meal at some point in time during the course of your day should have these elements, okay? So when we talk about proteins, what are we talking about? Meat, okay? And it doesn't always have to be meat. It could be eggs. It could be tuna, okay? So our grains, what are we talking about? Grains. Bread, oatmeal, okay, grits. Yeah, grits. Okay, so our fruits, watermelon, strawberries. Okay, so whatever is seasonal. And then our vegetables. Okay, so we should be eating vegetables. As African Americans, most of us came from an agrarian society, okay, where we were farmers, or we lived and raised on a farm, okay? You may not, but your grandparents or your great-grandparents, okay? We know what that farm life was like, right? Yes. Okay, all right. So we had gardens. So many of you are not familiar with gardens, okay? Because if you live in the city, that may not be something that you're thinking about. But tomatoes don't all come from H-E-B, okay? So the tomatoes that you get at H-E-B are very, very different from homegrown tomatoes. And those tomatoes come in different shapes and different varieties, okay? So eggs. Everybody thinks that when you go to H-E-B, those eggs are all white. They're not. If you go to the farm, you'll see what are some of the colors of those farm fresh eggs? Brown, yellow, blue, all these different colors, right? Okay, so why don't we see that at H-E-B? Why don't we see that at H-E-B? Why don't we see the different colors of eggs at H-E-B?
Because white is right.
Because you wouldn't buy them. You wouldn't buy them. You say, wait a minute, I'm used to seeing all white eggs. I don't want to buy these brown and yellow and polka dotted colored eggs. Okay, so to help you see that anything that comes from the ground is always going to be better for you. So if you can have farm fresh eggs, if you can have tomatoes, if you can have okra, if you can have these things, that's always going to be better for you. But it also depends on how you prepare it too, okay? So you want to prepare it with as little as possible, okay? So that your plate will eventually look like this. And why do you say your plate should look like this? What are you trying to avoid? Well, we're trying to avoid the chronic illnesses and diseases that plague us as African Americans. What are those chronic illnesses and diseases that we get all the time? Cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, all of those things, okay? And so let me just show you how easy it is when we don't have control of our eating, okay? So when we don't have control of our eating, that basically means we eat everything. And then when we don't plan our eating, we're going to eat everything. So the cookies that are on the counter, if you haven't had anything to eat, the cookies on the counter are fair game. The candy, the sign that says 2 hamburgers for $1.99. You're going to stop and get those 2 hamburgers because you haven't had anything to eat. So when you don't plan to eat, you will basically just be out of control. This is what happens when you're out of control. impact you to the extent that you can't do your daily life activities, right? Okay, so 1 pound could basically be invisible. You wouldn't notice it. So I can ask you, if you'll come up here, I can ask you to walk around with this 1 pound of fat. Okay, so just walk normal. Okay, so he's demonstrating to us the 1 pound of fat. 3,500 calories equals 1 pound. So he can walk. He can do his daily activities. If he was trying to catch a bus, he could catch a bus. But let's see if you ran a little bit. So just run just a little bit. Now he's young. He won't impact us the same way as us. So he can run and he can do all of that. He won't be out of breath. Okay, so good. All right, so how do you feel? How do you feel? Are you out of breath? No. You feel okay? You feel like you could catch a bus if you needed to with this extra pound of fat, right? So where is this extra pound of fat? We'll put it on his back. Okay? So this is just the 1 pound. So then he continues to do the things that he's doing. What do you like to eat? Chips, ice cream, cookies, soda, all of that. Okay, so he eventually will gain 5 pounds. So let's see the distinction between 5 pounds of fat. Okay. So this is 5 pounds of fat. Even for me, I have to take 2 hands to pick it up. Okay? So the 5 pounds is going to impact us a little bit differently. So I'm going to let you hold it with both hands. Okay? Does it feel different to you? Yeah. So let's let you walk with this. So just walk leisurely. Normally. Okay? So he can walk with that 5 pounds of fat because for many people, the 5 pounds of fat could be anywhere. Okay? So then we're going to have you run with that 5 pounds of fat. Okay? So you see his run is even a little bit different. Okay? All right. Okay. All right. So how do you feel? A little bit winded? Yeah, a little bit winded. Okay, thank you. Okay, so he felt a little bit winded, and he would be. Okay, so our daily activities like going up some stairs, okay, may have you breathing a little bit heavier. Okay, so if you were trying to go out and do some housework or mow your yard or catch a bus, that might impact you with that 5 pounds. Okay, and so the 5 pounds comes on you pretty quickly. Okay, remember the 1 pound is somewhat invisible, and then the 5 pounds, you're going to feel it. Okay, so going up some stairs may be difficult for you. So going up the stairs at 1 pound, you may, but going up at 5 pounds, you may have to stop and take a breather. Okay, so this is what happens when the weight comes on us, okay? And this is what you're trying to avoid. And many times, what used to be considered old people's issues are now young people's issues too, okay? So what you're eating right now, young people, will have an impact on you too. How many of you like sodas? Oh, okay, good, good. All right. Okay, so this big can represents the amount of soda you would drink if you drank 2 cans of regular soda every day for a month. 2 cans. So think about that. 2 cans of regular soda, sugary soda. Okay, so this is equivalent to 5.6 gallons. Okay? So, this is not including all the other things that you eat or you drink. Okay? So, let's see how many calories. How many calories equals 1 pound? 3,500. Okay? So 3,500 calories equals 1 pound. And we're talking about all the stuff that we eat and drink all day long for a whole month. Okay, so would we get any nutritional information just from our soda? No? No nutrition from the soda? What nutrition would I get from my soda? Okay? So let's just look to see how much all this is going to be. So if we drink 2 cans of soda every day for a month, let's say we started at the beginning of the month of June, and we're going to go through the end of June, okay? So that would be 8,400 calories just from your soda. Just from your soda. So how many people like hamburgers, pizza, fried chicken, all of that? Okay, so just the soda, okay? So 8,400 calories just from your liquid intake of soda, all right? So our fat is 0, our sodium is 3,000 milligrams. Okay, so why would we be concerned about sodium? Salt, okay? So who's concerned about their sodium intake? So if you have high blood pressure, then that can put you at greater risk, okay? And then we look at our carbohydrates, 2,340 grams of carbs, and no protein. So let's look to see what's in here. High fructose corn syrup. So we hear about that all the time. Fructose, lactose, dextrose. Anything with that ending is what?
Sugar.
Sugar is just another way to say sugar. That's all sugar. Okay? Sucrose. And then we think about, well, I'll just work it out. So, to work off just your soda alone, we're only talking about the soda, you would have to walk 100 miles. Okay, so 100 miles from Austin is College Station. Okay, and I know that because I'm from College Station. I was in College Station for work last week, and that's about 100 miles. So just to walk off the soda, not including everything else, you'd have to walk 100 miles. Well, that's 100 miles one way.
Right.
How are you going to get back? Okay, so you're going to have to find a way to get back. So this goes to show you that you can't really work off bad habits. You really can't work out bad habits because you're going to constantly be doing that all the time. So your soda intake, what would you do? What would you do if you say, well, I'm just a soda drinker. I just have to have it. How could you have that in your lifestyle to where it's not going to put you at a deficit, but you can still enjoy some of those things? What would you do? What would you do? Balance it with a healthier drink. Okay, what would that healthier drink be? Water. Okay. And you make a good point. There should be a way that you could balance that, you know? And then now they have the smaller sodas and the little cans. So to get the smaller sodas in the little can, you still get all the taste, you still get all that, the fizz and everything that you want, but that also comes at a price, right? Because they're more expensive. And many times, if we get the whole can, it's kind of hard to say, well, I'm only going to drink half of it. And I'm going to put the rest of it up. Because once that can is open, chances are more than likely you're going to finish all that. So then you say, well, how do I measure those things out? Let me measure those things out. So how can you measure the food that you eat? How do you know when something is too much?
When it falls off the plate.
Yes. Okay. So the way that you know when something is too much is when you eat it to a point to where you really, after you finish, you're like, yeah. Or your belt needs to be unbuckled, or your pants need to be unzipped, or unbuttoned. So when you eat to that point to where those things need to take place, and especially if you're in a public setting and you're behind the table and you have to unbutton and unzip, you know you've had too much. Okay, so you can always tell what your serving size is. Your portion is whatever you want it to be. So your hand in and of itself can kind of help you with that. So your 3 ounces of protein should be no bigger than this. 3 ounces of protein. Okay? Does that look like that's enough? 3 ounces, does that look like that's enough? Okay, you can eat that and be satisfied? All right. Well, probably, but take into consideration, these are your meals throughout the day. Right. These are your meals throughout the day. Yes. Knick-knack. Yeah. Okay. And there's a remedy for that too. So, anytime you eat out of a bag, anytime you eat out of a box, that lends itself to you eating more than what you would normally eat. Okay? So you say, well, let me eat some of these vanilla wafers. Okay, on the label, the vanilla wafers has a serving size, the amount for that particular amount of calories, then all the fat, all that goes with it. So when you eat more than that, you're eating more servings. Okay, so you eat 5 servings, so you've eaten servings for you, myself, and 3 other people. Okay? So you get all the calories, you get all the fat, you get all the sodium, you get all that goes with it. So to kind of help you with that, you can always use something like this. A measuring cup. How many of you measure what you eat? Once you've prepared something and you want to see a half of a cup of broccoli, to see what a half of a cup of broccoli looks like, to see what half of a cup of beans look like, half of a cup of potatoes, those things. How many of you measure that out? Okay, so you can also visualize it by just looking at it. You know when it's too much, right? Okay, so you really don't need something like this because you know that if you've gotten those potatoes and you put that gravy on it, and you had your smothered chicken or your smothered pork chop, and you're like, oh man, I have a little bit more pork chop, I need some more potatoes. And you go back and get more potatoes, and then you put more butter on those potatoes, and then there's just a little bit more in the pan. So you're like, well, won't make sense to put it in the refrigerator and save it. That'll take up a Tupperware container necessarily. So I'll just eat it. I'll just eat it. And so when you start eating all of those things, all that adds up to. So I would just encourage you to be mindful of what it is that you're eating, and to be mindful of how much you're eating. Because when we look at the risk factors for chronic illnesses and diseases, African Americans, our numbers are always up there. Everything. And so many of these chronic illnesses and diseases are preventable. Did you know that? High blood pressure, diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Okay, so what would you have to do? What would you have to do? 2 things. 2 things. You can always hear this. Reduce your food intake and exercise. Okay? So how many of you exercise? What do you do? What do you do? Walk. Okay, what do you do? Okay. So, walking is an excellent exercise. And then I'm 7:36, I'm going to wrap it up. So walking is an excellent exercise. It's a good weight-bearing exercise. And young people, you may not think about this now, but you need to be as physically active as you can be right now, because it builds up your momentum, it builds up your strength, so that by the time that you get 30, 40, 50, 60, it's a routine. It's just as normal for you as anything else, okay? So I encourage you to do that. So for walking, anything that you can do, start off slow. If you're not a marathoner, then chances are more than likely you will not be able to walk 5 miles. Okay, so you want to start off slow, and you want to be able to build it up to a point to where you can take 10,000 steps. Okay, 10,000 steps is equivalent to 5 miles. So that's 5 miles. You only have 95 more miles if you drink all that soda. Okay, so I encourage you to do that. If you don't have pedometers, I have some pedometers with me, but if you can make an investment in yourself, okay? I would encourage you to make an investment in yourself. Find something that's going to work for you and do it, and be consistent with it. If you are a person that needs to have somebody that walk with you, and then if they're the type of people, oh, it's hot today, oh, it's raining today, you need to get you another walking partner, okay? Because you want somebody that's going to walk with you. Yeah, it's hot, but let's do it anyway. Yeah, it's raining, but let's at least walk 15 minutes and do it anyway. So I would leave these things with you. Be mindful of the fact that chronic illness and diseases is very, very real. It's very serious. Has deadly, deadly consequences, okay? And the two things that we do have some control over is the amount of food that we eat and what we eat, and then our physical activity. So be mindful of the fact that your health really, really is your wealth. It really is your wealth. And so I would encourage you to take that very, very seriously. And then if there's anything that I can do on behalf of the Cooperative Extension Program at Prairie View A&M University, I'm just over at 1600 D Smith Road. You don't have to worry about me coming all the way from Prairie View because I'm right here in Austin. And so if you have any questions, I'll answer them for you. Yes?
Okay, so like you said on the plate that have dairy, but it's lactose intolerant, what would be the substitute?
A good substitute for dairy, whether you believe it or not, would be sardines. Okay. All right. Well, you know, if dairy is not your thing, and if you are lactose intolerant, then there are some things that you can eat. Almond milk. Have you tried that? You don't like almond milk? Okay. So you like almond milk? Okay. All right. Yes.
The sodas, I think around those, I don't know if they call them, they're like soda water. You get an HEB of the stores where it's like cream strawberry or
Yes.
green apple, they're carbonated, but they're not considered sodas, are those?
No, and they have 0 calories and 0 sugar. And the thing is, if that's going to get you to drink liquid, then by all means do it. But be mindful of those things, especially if there is sugar with them, because you want, and there's never going to be a substitute to just plain unadulterated water. Never will there be a substitute for that. And the reason why you want to have enough water, especially in the winter months as well as the summer months, is that when your urine comes out, you want that to be just as clear as can be. If it's orange, then that means you don't have enough liquids. So you can get liquids from not only water, but from your fruits and your vegetables and things like that, but that will not be a substitute for a good old big glass of water. Okay. All right. Well, my time has been well spent here. I hope I've said something to you that has been encouraging to you, and I hope that it will be beneficial to you. But just the next time, think about what you eat. Think about what you're putting in your mouth. And then if it's something that you know that you should be eating, then I would suggest that it just be the best. It just be the best piece of chocolate, be the best cake.